Hello, my name is Emmy. I am one of Chicago's SAFE ambassadors. SAFE is an acronym that stands for Streets Are for Everybody, no matter what form of transportation they're using.
Hi there, I'm SAFE Ambassador Chris. So, speaking of transportation, how you get from one place to another, I'd like you to think about how many different forms of transportation you use. I can help you start thinking about this by listing 5 common ways people get where they're going. With their feet, walking. By bus, train, motor vehicle, including cars, motorcycles, SUVs, and any other vehicles that need gasoline or electricity to power them. And last but not least,
by bike. Now I want to lay down some numbers for you. On an average weekday, people in the Chicago area travel a cumulative distance of more than 136 million miles. Do you know how many bus stops there are? More than 10,000 in Chicago, and we all ride the bus a total of 600,000 miles every year.
Think about the size of a bus and how many people can fit in it. One CTA bus can take the place of as many as 60 cars on the road.
Wow! I also want to make sure you know that during your lifetime, the way people in Chicago choose to get to work, school, the store, and all the other places we go has been changing. While automobiles are almost everywhere, it turns out that bicycling as a form of transportation has more than doubled during the 2000s.
Today, we're going to talk about biking safety. And to start, let's consider why someone might choose to go somewhere by bike instead of by car.
As SAFE ambassadors, we think that biking is a great way to get around the city. There are tons of advantages and benefits to biking. But why would someone ride a bike somewhere instead of, say, drive or take the CTA?
It's fun! It might seem scary to ride a bike, but I think that you should try. Because when you ride a bike, you feel like you can fly. For exercise.
You might like to exercise. Biking makes your body wise. Legs pump, heart thumps, working more than just your eyes.
Environment. Environment starts with E. Its care is shared by you and me. You might like to ride a bike for less pollution and crash severity. Transportation.
Every ride is a vacation. With this mode of transportation, bikes can take you anywhere with time and money to spare.
Hi there, I'm Brian. That video has great reasons on why we bike. I personally love biking because it gets me exactly where I need to go, and being on those 2 wheels feels very freeing.
I think I'm a pretty good cyclist, and when I'm riding in Chicago, I feel confident. And I bet you feel that way too and couldn't even imagine getting into a crash. However, you could be the best cyclist in the world and still get into a crash because you cannot control the world around you. You may come across a distracted driver, or a pothole covered by leaves, or a dog runs out in front of you.
Even though you are a great cyclist, there is always a risk of getting hurt. Some injuries are less serious than others, such as scraping your knee. That's why you don't wear a suit of armor when you're riding your bike. But can you think of a piece of equipment that we always should be wearing? So I'm thinking of the helmet, and this is mine right here. I wear it every time I go out on a ride. And the helmet protects your head, which houses your brain. And your brain is your control center. It's what makes us us. So risking damage to your head can be very serious because of how important our brain is. You should always be wearing a helmet when you ride a bike, but having a helmet on your head is only half of the story. It needs to fit and be secured the right way too. You use the eyes, ears, and mouth check to adjust your helmet, and let's check out this next video on how exactly to do that.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Eyes, ears, mouth, helmet check, helmet check. Make sure your helmet's nice and snug, nice and snug. Move your helmet to the front, to the front. Fit 2 fingers between your brows and helmet. Make sure you can see the foam, see the foam. Make a peace sign with your fingers, with your fingers. Place them by your ears and check, ears and check. Check to see that the straps align. You can adjust the straps as needed, as needed. Place 2 fingers between the strap, or open your mouth and try to feel a light snug. Now you're ready to go, ready to go.
That fun video Akaro showed you how to use your eyes to look up and see the foam, your ears so that the straps are just underneath them, and your mouth to make sure that the chin strap is snug enough with just 2 fingers between. Now that my helmet is correctly fitting, I am ready for a ride, but I want to make sure that my bike is too. So before you go on a ride, it's important that you check your bike to make sure it is in tip-top working condition. You don't want to get a flat from low air in the tire or be unable to stop because you didn't know your brakes weren't working. Checking your bike is simple, and you use the ABC quick check to make sure your bike is ready to go for a ride.
Before your rides, you'll want to check that your bike is in top working condition. Use the ABC quick check, which stands for air, brakes, chain, quick release, and a final check. Check the air and tires for pressure by leaning all your weight on the bike and seeing if the tires bulge. If they do, fill to the recommended pressure printed on the side of the tire. Bikes roll faster and get fewer flats with tires filled to the right air pressure. Check the brakes by pulling the levers and rocking on the wheels. Depress the right brake for your rear tire and the left brake for your front tire. If the brakes are working, the wheels should skid when the bike is pushed. Check that the chain moves quietly and smoothly when backpedaling. If it's not lubricated, you will pedal harder, increasing wear and risk breaking the chain. Lubricate the chain regularly to keep it running well, and wipe off excess lubricant with a rag as the excess attracts dirt. Check that any quick release parts are tightly secured. Levers curved in towards the bike are locked. Levers curved away are unlocked and are in danger of coming off while riding. Not all bikes have quick releases at the tires and seat post. Finally, check your bike by picking up your bike slightly off the ground and giving it a short bounce, making sure that everything is secure and nothing falls off. ABC quick check performed, and any issues taken care of, you're ready to ride.
Once your brain is protected by a helmet and your bike is ready to roll, it's time to think about 2 ways you can make your next trip on 2 wheels safer for you and everybody traveling around you.
Sharing space with others isn't always easy in a place like Chicago, where there are so many things going on. And when you're riding a bike, you need to make sure other people can see you and easily understand what you'll do next.
Imagine
If you were riding your bike in Chicago and you were invisible. Being invisible while trying to move around outside in between all the other people out there on a busy day would be really risky and unsafe.
So what's safe? Being visible and predictable. There are 3 ways you can make yourself visible while riding your bike.
Number 1, wear bright colors. Now look around the room where you are and notice how some objects are easier to see than others because of the relative brightness of colors.
And in these images, some outfits are clearly more visible than others.
Number 2, put lights and reflectors on your bike.
In Chicago, if you're riding a bike after dark, you must use a white light on the front, and on the back have a red reflector. If you can add a red light too, that makes you even more visible. Check out this video that demonstrates what I mean.
This is Gato. She uses her bike to get around Chicago. This is Gato as seen on her bicycle from a distance of 250 feet, from 100 feet, from 50 feet. This is Gato as seen on her bicycle from 250 feet at night. Or is she seen? Can you see her from 250 feet? Can you see her from 100 feet? Can you see her from 50 feet? Did you notice her riding straight towards you on the wrong side of the street, wearing a life vest and snorkeling gear? The strangest things can go unnoticed. So use common sense and use a headlamp when you ride a bike at night. And a red rear reflector or light. It's the law, and it's part of safe cycling in Chicago.
Number 3, and finally, you can be visible by making noise.
Having a horn or bell on your bike gives you a loud, quick way to attract attention if you're not sure someone driving, walking, or traveling some other way knows you're there and that they need to share the space with you. And if you want to make noise with something that's free and easy to carry, use your voice.
Coming up!
The other facet of how we ride that's crucial is being predictable. This means that other people can tell or predict where you and your bike are going to be next. And the key to being predictable is remembering that you have choices about how to behave while riding your bike. If you're being unpredictable, everything you do is a surprise. And that's not safe. Being unpredictable means that the way you're riding might confuse people and cause a crash. So now I will share our 4 tips for being predictable.
Number 1, ride in a straight line. In this video, you can see Brian weaving all over the place. How can you tell where he will ride next? Watch how when he rides in a straight line, it's easy to know where he'll be in 5 seconds. Number 2, go with the flow. Ride in the same direction as traffic, on the right side, just like we expect cars to do. If you ride against traffic, that's not what drivers expect, and they might not notice you until it's too late. Almost 25% of car-bike crashes involve people riding against traffic, so don't do it. Number 3, follow the rules of the road. A bike is a vehicle, just like a car. That's right. If I choose to go to the store by driving a Lamborghini, or by riding my cute cruiser with a basket on front, the law says I have to control both vehicles the same way. Stop at red lights, stop signs, and crosswalks. Notice how Brian did the right thing at this stop sign, but the other biker zoomed right through without even looking at the car on their right. So dangerous. And the driver is allowed to go first in this situation, so that biker is lucky the car didn't go. Remember, bikes are people-powered vehicles. Cars are motor vehicles that need gas or electricity, as well as a battery. But it doesn't matter if you're traveling by bike or car, you have the same rights and responsibilities. Number 4, use hand signals. This is very simple and effective. You are essentially going to point where you want to go. Left, simply stick out your left arm. Right, same idea, using your right arm. And if you're stopping or slowing, especially suddenly, the way to show whoever is traveling behind you is to put one hand back like this.
Now that you know how important it is to be visible and predictable, I'd like to consider what to do when you're riding on the sidewalk and there's someone walking there too. The sidewalk is, after all, for people walking. There's a law in Chicago that says when you achieve a certain age, you are too big and too fast to be riding on the sidewalk. It's still okay to ride on the sidewalk if you're 7 years old. Also, if you're 8, 9, 10, or 11. but when you turn 12. That's right, 12 is the magic number. On your 12th birthday, the city of Chicago says it's time to stop riding on the sidewalk. That's why we talk to kids your age. But let's imagine you're an 11-year-old riding on the sidewalk and seeing up ahead the oldest person in the world. What should you do? Even though it's legal for you to ride on the sidewalk if you're 11, it's still important to be mindful of other people using the sidewalk, since it is designed for people walking. Are you going to do this? That bike rider squeezed by very rudely, and the person walking looked scared and angry. That's definitely not the kindest way to pass someone. How about this way of passing?
Oh no!
You could not only startle but also injure someone if you're careless about the way you pass them.
Would this approach be kind?
Excuse me, coming up on your right.
Hey, that was pretty good, right? The bike rider slowed down, let the person walking know he was coming by ringing his bell, and said which side he was going to pass. Another option would be to stop, get off your bike, and slowly roll your bike by the walking person.
And remember, if you're riding on the sidewalk, you're less visible to people driving. So make sure to stop, then look left, right, and behind you to check for traffic before using a crosswalk to get across the street.
It's all about being aware of whoever else is traveling around you and helping to keep them safe too.
Choosing where you ride is an important factor in biking safety. We've already discussed riding on the sidewalk and the safest ways to do that. But some of you are already riding in the street, or you're ready to start.
Streets with heavy motor vehicle traffic are not a good idea to ride your bike on. Instead, start out riding on quieter streets around your house and find streets that have bike lanes. A bike lane is a specially marked part of the roadway that is meant for bike traffic. The more than 300 miles of bike lanes in Chicago include many different types. Some bike lanes have solid white lines outlining them. Some have barricades like a bollard, a type of post that prevents motor vehicles from entering an area. Some have cement curbs or a painted buffer zone that separates the cyclist from the rest of traffic, while some are only sharrows. These are markings on the road that indicate bike traffic as expected, but there's no separation between bikes and cars. The one you see here is very common, with moving traffic to the left of it and parked cars to the right. The bike lane is wider than you are on your bike, which means you have the option of where to ride within it. You could ride all the way to the left, closest to moving traffic. You could ride in the center of the lane, or you could ride all the way to the right, closest to parked cars. We hear a lot of people say that they feel safest riding all the way to the right, closest to parked cars, or in the center of the bike lane. Let's take a look at what can happen if you choose to ride in these positions. Dooring. When someone opens a car door in front of a cyclist and it results in a crash, we call this dooring. Dooring is one of the most common car-on-bike crashes in Chicago. When you ride in the street, stay clear of the door zone by riding in the leftmost position within the bike lane.
or at least 3 feet away from parked cars. If someone in a parked vehicle opens their door unexpectedly, you will be able to avoid a crash with them. This position also makes it easier for you to be visible and predictable to the moving traffic coming from behind you.
You need to be mindful of the possibility of dooring, not only when on a bike, but also when riding in a car or vehicle. If you forget to look before opening your door and exiting your vehicle, you could cause a crash. Help make Chicago a safer place to ride a bike by practicing the Dutch reach. The Dutch reach is a way of opening your vehicle door with the inside arm. Not the arm that is closest to the door, but the one farthest from the door. This requires you to reach across your body and pivot and remind you to look out for oncoming cyclists before opening your door. Don't just practice it and do it, but teach someone you know.
Other great places to practice your safe biking skills are trails. Chicago has over 55 miles of off-street trails that give you a break from motorist traffic and deliver you to some of the most enchanting places in the city. When riding on trails, you are still sharing space with others, so remember, be visible and predictable. Alert someone before passing them and signal before turning or stopping.
We've gone over a lot today, and thank you so much for participating with us. Let's go through a quick review of everything we learned. We talked about what transportation is and different ways people get around, and one fun way is biking. We bike because it's great exercise, it's good for the environment, and it's a cheap and easy form of transportation, especially compared to cars. Helmets are important to protect your head from injury and damage to your brain. The helmet needs to fit properly, and you can use the eyes, ears, and mouth check to make sure it's fitting. Use the ABC quick check to make sure your bike is ready to go. You're checking the air, brakes, chain, seat post, and wheels, that they are secure, and a final drop with your bike to make sure nothing is falling off. Being visible helps others see you and improves your safety. You are visible by wearing bright colors, having lights and reflectors, and by being loud, whether through your voice, a bell or horn, or even a speaker with music. We share the road with cars, pedestrians, and other bikes, and you need to be predictable when riding so others can anticipate your actions. You do this by riding in a straight line, riding in the same direction as traffic, using hand signals, and last but not least, following the rules of the road, such as stopping at a stop sign. And don't forget, when riding in the street next to parked cars, keep an eye out for that door zone.